the content was going to stop. We were going to take a break. Oh no. The work just got started for me and Harley. The work just got started for this Houston Texans team. Now that the season has unfortunately come to an end, the goal now is to make this roster a championship one. And before we continue, guys, this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. With NFL playoffs right around the corner and the NBA season in full swing, BetOnline has you covered with all the up to second odds, news, and scores. With additional odds, live trends, and info on both desktop and mobile, you can access the world's best wagering information anytime.
Head there today to get into the action and see all the updated odds. Remember to use our promo code BLEAV, BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts.
Harley, how are you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling a lot better looking into the off season, looking into what we could do to help this team and how this team looks as of right now. All of it's trending upwards.
Mm. I kind of I feel better than what I thought I was, right? A playoff loss, it cripples some people,
Yeah.
right? People obviously lose money on gambling and stuff like that, but like we've been saying all year, man, we're not supposed to be here. And even though I was excited, and for this Houston Texans playoff game, I knew there was a chance, right? We were going to lose to the number
Yeah.
one seed, the Baltimore Ravens, the MVP, Lamar Jackson, which he absolutely deserved after his performance. But literally Sunday, the day after, I was just, damn, we lost. But I immediately started looking at my draft picks. I see that I have my first, second, and third. I looked at what I'm going to have in terms of free agency, and I'm going to potentially have $90 million to mess around with in the offseason. I wiped off my tears and I said, man, we got to go to work.
Yeah, it's basically what it is. So, the Houston Texans, like I said, they have a bright future, man. With that bright future comes draft picks, it comes cap space, it comes a superstar quarterback in year one, a head coach to pair up with him, and a roster that is full of talent, some youth, but nothing but to get better now.
Nothing but to get better. So before we jump into the future, man, let's say goodbye to the 2023 Houston Texans season. Yes, let's shed a tear. This was a season of surprises. This team in year one of the rebuild, 10 wins, an AFC South Division title, a home playoff win. If you would have told me I was going to get that when I was standing in line at 4 o'clock in the morning at training camp, I would have said, dude, what are you talking about? There's no way
Yeah.
this team does that. But they did. Harley, I ask you, what grade would you give this Houston Texans season?
Wow. I mean, I would have to give it an A.
Mm,
I would, just because the growth throughout the year and to exceed expectations and then to overachieve once more by winning a playoff game, getting the division, getting into the playoffs. Again, the growth throughout this year, the improvement amongst the players on your roster right now. I mean, there was nothing better that you could have done except win the Super Bowl. there was nothing better. Like the expectations coming into this season was 5, 6, maybe 7 wins. And my hot take was 9-8 in the division. That was a hot take.
mm.
That is now the floor for the Houston Texans going into the 2024-25 season. It was a lot of fun to watch. Again, I like to I like to, you know, reference that they're like the 2015 Astros. They over exceeded expectations. They won a playoff game. And hey, they had the Ravens for one half, you can say, with the roster they have currently constructed. I can see why the Ravens dominated them. It was fun to hype up the game for us. It was fun to trash talk again, too.
Hmm.
And And to me, what the biggest thing that a lot of people haven't said, we talk about the team and we talk about the players and the coaches. I think the biggest thing that is a knockout home run season for this team is getting the fans back. That's the
Mm.
biggest thing in my opinion. I mean, we everybody was so disinterested in this team for the last 2 to 3 years. It
Like, it
makes
was bad.
sense. It was really bad, and so it's good to have the fans back.
No, and just to add to that, like, we went to the previous training camps that were available to the public, and when it was training camps led by David Culley and Lovie Smith, I mean, you can get there late and still have front row seats.
Yeah,
In D'Amico Ryan's first training camp, if you weren't there at 3:30 in the morning, you weren't going to get a good seat. And if you remember, for the ones who went there, once you left the big ass line where you went through the metal detectors, you had to go wait in another line where they separated you in red,
yep.
white, and blue and wait for another hour and a half. That was how packed it was at training camp for the Houston Texans. And getting the fans back is huge. What's going on, Leonard? Um, and what's crazy is you didn't really get the fans back until the playoffs. All year, NRG was not packed. However, it got fuller every single week. The crowd was something talked about by CJ Stroud. He was pleading, stop laughing, bitch. He was pleading the entire year to see a full packed NRG house. And thank God that he saw it in the postseason against the Cleveland Browns, right? That shows you how how dangerous it can get here in Houston. Why are you laughing, dude?
This is why I turn my phone off when we do the pod, and my boys send me something really funny, bro, and it's just that was funny, man. It was funny. I ain't gonna share with the class. It's a little too inappropriate, but it was funny, man.
Harley's dirty, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you take out of that whole little exchange right there. But getting the fans back was a big part of this Houston Texans. And they not only did it by the team and by D'Amico, but by owners Cow and Hannah McNair as well. Every training camp that was open to the public, they would do a walk around in the middle of the practice, and they will have full length conversations. They will sign autographs with just about anyone, and they will bring out t-shirts that they would throw into the crowd. And it was every single day that training camp was open to the public. So right then and there, dude, the fans were getting on board, and it it took a minute for the fans to translate to NRG, but hey, you got there, and I expect it to be packed for the next 10 to 12 years as long
Right.
as CJ Stroud is the quarterback. I gave this season Harley an A plus. An A
Mm,
plus because you found your head coach. D'Amico Ryans is that guy. And shout out to me and you because we knew this as soon as he was hired.
yeah.
We both said on a podcast, he is going to bring the Houston Texans a Super Bowl.
Yep.
And in year one, he got us 2 games away. You also found a franchise game changing quarterback who had a rookie season that we have never seen in the NFL, period. A guy who was compared to Joe Montana and Tom Brady in year one. This was an A plus, 10 plus win season, a win in the playoffs. Dude, this season was great.
Yeah, it's fantastic, man. The only reason I didn't give it an A plus is just because A plus for me would be Super
Super
Bowl.
Bowl.
So I pretty much agree with you, man. There's nothing much else to say. This season was fantastic. Like I mentioned already, we're on the magical carpet ride from Aladdin, bro. Like that's what we were on, man. And it was fun seeing D'Amico and CJ Stroud, drive that bus, drive the carpet. Let's continue the metaphor, and we're just like this, like ear to ear cheesing, like we just happy what's going on, and it feels great, man. And again, like shout out to Cal and Hannah, shout out to them for getting the right decision in getting D'Amico Ryans. Shout out to Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans for having the balls, the gravity to go into the draft and not only get CJ Stroud, but trade up and double dip to get Will Anderson Jr. I don't know if you saw it today, but Pro Football Writers of America have voted.
Mm.
Now, this isn't official, guys, but most of the time, they're not wrong. And your rookie of the year is CJ Stroud. Your offensive rookie of the year is CJ Stroud. And your defensive rookie of the year is Will Anderson Jr. The Texans sweep unofficially, officially, for both rookie of the year trophies, you can say. What do you think about it, man?
I mean, is what we've been expecting. However, I think you're two, trophies short. I think you have Coach of the Year in D'Amico Ryans because he
Mm,
beat the other candidates, Kevin Stefanski
yep.
and the guy from the coach, Shane Steichman,
Yeah.
and Executive of the Year, Nick
Mm,
Caserio. You talk about what he did in free agency was bringing a veteran for every single position group. Now I've already named all of them, but each and every single one of those free agents brought in had an impact in this 10-win season, in this playoff season. You talk about when the injuries happen. How many trades did he do to bring in guards, Kendrick Green, Josh Jones during the season, bringing back Desmond King, bringing in Derek Barnett, signing Steven Sims to the practice squad, making him
oof.
active, and he goes off for a punt return touchdown against the Baltimore Ravens. And Nick Caserio, you just absolutely murder the draft. And then you talk about the rest of the draft picks that didn't really get a shine this season, but we know we're going to bottle in the future. Dylan Horton, Henry Tuatuo, Jared Patterson when he comes back healthy. Nick Caserio deserves Executive of the Year, man. And this Houston Texans team, dude, should sweep the awards and they should just scare everyone by the job well done they did in year one.
Yeah, I mean, we heard Will Anderson after the Ravens game. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
you saw
heard it.
that?
Yeah, that was fantastic, man. He was crying after the Ravens game, obviously, because it means so much. These games have so much weight to them. So he was crying after the game. CJ Stroud goes over, tells him, "Hey, man, we're good.
Mm.
We're good. Our future's bright. You need to stop crying. Our future's good." Will Anderson wipes some tears away, says, "Hey, Captain said to stop crying. All right, we good then. Let's go." Like there ain't no chilling, as Will Anderson said after beating the Browns. There ain't no chilling.
And, D'Amico Ryan said it himself. Players are going to want to come to Houston to play with CJ Stroud.
Yep.
And now we could get into it, right? We both gave the Houston Texan an A plus. Well, Harley gave them an A. I gave them an A plus on the job well done this season. What are your biggest needs for the Houston Texans heading into 2024? I'm going to give you mine. Number one is safety. Number two, cornerback. Three, defensive line. Four, running back. And my fifth is wide receiver. Those are my biggest needs for the Houston Texans this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go number one, cornerback. Number two, I'll go safety. Number three, I'll go defensive line. Number four, I'll go running back. Number five, I'll go wide receiver. We're pretty much on the same boat,
Mhm.
just a little bit different. But I mean, overall, the Houston Texans know they got to improve the secondary, especially if D'Amico Ryan's he likes to rush with four guys. That's what he likes to do. Now, yeah, he brought some pressure. We got to see some of that in the Ravens game. Him stunting, doing the stunts in the Ravens game was not successful because Lamar Jackson said, "Oh, okay, you're gonna stunt. Oh, there's a wide gaping hole
Wide
right
open.
there. Boom, gash." Yeah, so that didn't really work. Hey, D'Amico will learn his lesson. I have no problem in that whatsoever. So yeah, the Houston Texans, the secondary's got to get better. Obviously, uh, I mean, it's kind of tough to rank it because I know some people are going to be like, oh well, running back and receiver, those are still very important. They shouldn't be 4 and 5. These are your top five, and I think they're all very important for this team. Like
Yes.
I don't think they're any less equal. Like the running back position is very important. We heard D'Amico Ryans today in the press conference, mention about improving the run game and improving the trenches, the defensive line. In credit to that, we see Jacques Cesaire, who is the defensive lines coach for the Houston Texans. They let his contract expire. So he's gone. Now they're going to be bringing somebody else in. Who knows who it's going to be? Could be Rod White. Rod Wright was one of the guys that I saw Patrick Storm tweeted out earlier. He was in that Bill Walsh
Mhm.
diversity program. So win the 49ers, not here in Houston. Could be somebody that he brings in, but who knows? But hey, that's a. I think those are the five positions I would agree with you.
Yeah, and like I say, any one of those, if they address them, like it's good. Those are just what I think the Houston Texans need to prioritize. Have you started looking at free agency?
Just a tad,
Mm,
not too in depth. But I have looked into, you know, I have looked into, the popular names that have been thrown
okay,
around Twitter,
and we'll get to that.
and and yeah, obviously, and so yeah, I got a few videos already that have come out, but nothing like here's a free agency video, or a crop of guys, maybe an 8-minute video, whatever. No, I haven't really gotten too much into depth with it, but we're gonna
You're
slowly get into there.
flirting
Yeah,
with it,
exactly,
dabbling.
exactly.
So free agency, like I said, is one of my favorite times of the year. And this is the first time I really feel like in our YouTube career, the Houston Texans are going to be buyers this free agency. Are you getting
Mhm.
that type of vibe from the Houston Texans? Because I think this is a perfect moment to spend some money while you have CJ Stroud on a rookie contract. Do what you didn't do with Deshaun Watson before you have to pay him. Put as much talent as this team as you possibly can. The Houston Texans championship window, it's open, ladies and gentlemen. It opened up in year one, but now you are here and now you have to take this roster and make it a championship one.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The Houston Texans know this. Nick Casario should know this. D'Amico Ryans know this. This isn't nothing new. This isn't breaking news. The Houston Texans know. Okay, we found a damn good quarterback. Okay, crap. The clock is ticking now. The clock is ticking for you to improve this roster and make it. You saw what it takes. You faced the number one seed in the Baltimore Ravens. You saw, okay, I did not have enough weapons offensively for CJ Stroud. Okay, we're going to fix that. I didn't have a run game. Okay, we're going to fix that. Oh, the defensive line. It's got to get a little bit better. Okay, we're going to fix that. So you saw what it takes when you got to the divisional round. It was the Ravens were a different animal than the Cleveland Browns.
Mm.
Cleveland Browns were an absolute pushover. I mean, you pillow fight with them. The Ravens, they brought knives and guns to the gunfight. Like they were locked, ready, and loaded and strapped to fight. They were ready. Texans, we were not ready for that game. Unfortunately, as much as we hyped up that week, unfortunately, we were not ready. We will be this offseason.
Yeah, and I just think this is prime time to spend some money, go out there and get the high profile guys, make this roster legit. And first thing that I want to address is because I've had a lot of fans comment, and not only on YouTube, but TikTok and Twitter as well, that the Houston Texans need to beef up the offensive line. And here's what I say to that. I do not think the Houston Texans are going to put a lot of investment, if any, into the O line this year. Why? Because you've already invested so much in the past 3 years. Laramie Tunsil got a 3-year deal. Shaq Mason got a 3-year deal. Titus Howard's got a 3-year deal. Those guys ain't going anywhere. You signed Kenyon Green last year. You selected him in the first round. You're not gonna give up on him. You have Jared Patterson, who you picked up in the fifth, who's going to compete with Kenyon Green at left guard. And at center, you have Juice Scruggs, who you traded up for and drafted in the second round. The offensive line, I do not think gets touched this free agency or gets invested in the draft heavily. What about you, Harley?
Agreed. 4 out of your 5 offensive linemen next year should be set. Should have Laramie Tunsil. The question mark is left guard. Center should be Juice Scruggs. Right guard should be Shaq Mason. And right tackle should be Titus Howard. On paper, you've already improved your offensive line. Your left guard battle will be between Jarrett Patterson, Kendrick Green, and Kenyon Green. Those are going to be your left guard battle. Sorry to any of the fans that are disappointed, but that's what's going to be happening. All right. There's nobody the Houston Texans are going to pick up at left guard. If they didn't pick up Dalton Risner, why the hell would they do it now? You know, if they, then just that's just a fact. So at the end of the day, hey, throw a bone in the cage. Let's see these 3 guys fight for the position, and whoever wins. Like whoever's the best man is going to win it. If it's Kenyon Green, awesome. Let me see what the 15th overall pick can do. If it's not Kenyon Green, well, buddy, your clock's going to be ticking. And Kendrick Green or Jared Patterson, come on aboard. It don't matter who it is. Let's just make sure we find ourselves the best one available for the team.
So you brought up earlier D'Amico Ryan saying himself that the Russian attack is something that they want to improve in. So if you are not improving the offensive line, then you're bringing in someone who can run the football for you because it's not Damian Pierce. Now, question before we get into free agency, I know you're already licking your chops. Are you bringing back Devin Singletary?
It's not out of the question. I have no problem bringing him back, but I am not also like, you know, oh well,
Yeah.
like I'm not going crazy about Devin Singletary. If we lose him, we lose him. If we don't, we don't. At the end of the day, he's a running back too. He's second on your depth chart. That's what he is. You can find somebody else like that. It's no problem finding another one. I know that sounds crazy. A lot of people love it, but come on, man. We could find something else.
Harley brought up Saquon Barkley, and I'll give him his credit. Probably the first Texans content creator bringing him up at the trade deadline. Harley, why would you want Saquon Barkley here in the Houston Texans next year?
I mean, immediately he transforms your offense into a top 10 offense.
Ooh.
Just him alone. And hell, you could argue top 5 because now it only opens up everything for CJ Stroud play action wise. Hey, play actions are a lot easier now with Saquon Barkley at the running back position. Also, those tough yards that Devin Singletary at 5'7" and whatever he is, as much as he's cool, that's nice. But at the end of the day, Saquon Barkley could get you the tough yardage. He can go into the edge and get those long yards. Like, he could be receiver. He is the closest thing you're going to get to adding Christian McCaffrey to this team. And what CMC did to the San Francisco 49ers, he transformed that offense. The Houston Texans with a Saquon Barkley would transform this offense and would make everybody better. And I can't wait to see the Houston Texans try to add a really good running back in the offseason, specifically free agency. I mean, come on. Can't get much better than Saquon.
I like how you bring up Christian McCaffrey because before they got traded, they also had so many people concerned about their injury history. And there is one with Saquon Barkley as well as there was one with Christian McCaffrey. But the 49ers, they took their chance and now they find themselves one game away from the Super Bowl. PFF has Saquon's projected contract at a 2-year, $22 million deal, $15 million guaranteed, $11 million a year during those two. Give me that for Saquon Barkley. And like Harley says, he will transform this Houston Texan offense. I mean, this might be your best running back since Arian Foster, and he is as much as a threat in the passing game as well. Saquon is that dude. There's a reason why he was the number 2 overall pick in his draft. And watch how dangerous this Houston Texan offense get when you have the threat of the pass from CJ Stroud, MVP caliber quarterback, and then the threat of a run from arguably one of the best running backs in the NFL when healthy, and Saquon Barkley. You have a lot of Houston Texans fans going absolutely nuts. Now, Harley brings up Saquon Barkley. I'll bring up Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is also a free agent this year, about to be 26 years old. You're getting him in the prime of his career. Now, the deal from PFF is a 3-year deal because of his youth. 3-year, $34.5 million, 21.25 guaranteed, a yearly average of $11.5 million. This is for last year's rushing leader where he had 1,600 yards, 10 plus touchdowns, then added another 400 receiving yards, 2,000 all purpose yards is what the Raiders got from Josh Jacobs last year. And I think there is an untapped potential. He is a very underrated pass catching running back, has 2 seasons with the Raiders with 50 receptions and back to back seasons. And just imagine what he can do here with the Houston Texans. I mean, we might be talking about a better offense because the fact is he does stay healthy, even though he ended this year with the quad injury. His injury history is a little bit more clean than Saquon Barkley. You might have to dish out the bag a little bit more for Josh Jacobs, but you are legit getting arguably the best running back in the league. I could not go wrong with either Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with either one of those decisions. The biggest thing with Josh Jacobs, he specializes in a zone run scheme. Wait a minute. The Houston Texans, last I checked, run a zone run scheme. Oh my goodness. How do you think that would work with Josh Jacobs, who thrived off zone runs? Yeah, sign me up. I mean, it doesn't matter for me. I would take either or. Definitely will have a video later on Josh Jacobs on my YouTube channel. He's absolutely fantastic for all the reasons you've already said.
What about Derrick Henry 1 year?
I'm just not that high on Derrick Henry. I'm just
Really?
not that high on him. I don't know. I see Derrick Henry and I immediately go, this is a running back that needs volume. He needs carries in order for him to get going. And I am just not a big fan of him.
Mm.
I'm not. I don't think he would really fit our scheme. He's more of a power runner kind of guy. So I don't know if he fits that one cut zone run kind of scheme. I know you were talking about his patience and his ball carrier vision. Sure, I agree with that, but uh, I don't know. I'm just not that sold on Derrick Henry because if you grab him, how old is Derrick Henry? Is he 31?
Let me go ahead and check. But this
You
is a
know,
dude who was second in the NFL in rushing this year. And behind a horrible offense
mhm.
like the Tennessee Titans. And to think that he still was the second leader in rushing with horrible games against the Houston Texans. Yeah, he'll be 31 next year.
Yeah, yeah. And the tread on his tires because Mike Vrabel ran the hell out of Derrick Henry. I'm not sold on it.
Mhm.
I'm not. Nothing against him. If this was a few years ago, yeah, I would have taken him in a heartbeat. But being 31, the tread on the tires, I'm not sold on it, man.
Mike Evans. Mike Evans is someone you've heard me talk about all year. Bring him home. He grew up in Galveston, born in Galveston, A&M product. Mike Evans is a Hall of Fame wide receiver, ladies and gentlemen. Just put up a season of 12,000 yards and 10 plus touchdowns. We saw him just put on an absolute showing against the Detroit Lions in the playoffs. Now, Harley, as high as I was on Mike Evans, I think he played himself into a position where he's going to ask for top receiver money. And as much as I would want a Hall of Fame wide receiver, I just don't think I'm willing to give out that contract. Now, if the Houston Texans did on day one in free agency, they go out there and get Mike Evans, I am on board. I am hype. I am all systems go. Just think about how dangerous the Houston Texan offense gets with Mike Evans, Tank Dell, and Nico Collins. I mean, you're talking about potentially the top air raid offense in the NFL with the Hall of Fame guy who's won a ring and he's going to come home and do it for the city. I love Mike Evans. I was hype on Mike Evans, but he just is going to get the bag, man. And I don't want to be the team that, that gives it to him.
Yeah, that playoff game really that playoff game really against the Lions. Yeah, Mike Evans showcased himself, even though he had a few drops. He showcased to the rest of the 31 teams that could be eyeing him in free agency. Like, yeah, I'm going to cost some money.
Mm.
And
Which he deserves.
obviously, he does deserve it. My thing with him is, I never like to question a person's, hunger for another world title, another
Mm.
Super Bowl, another champion after they win one. Because once you win one, it's kind of like, okay, I've accomplished what I wanted to in the NFL. So I don't like to question anybody's, competitive level, but how much does Mike Evans, to me, he would be looking at this offseason as a payday for him.
Mm.
And he's going to get the bag. He said it already. So it is what it is.
You want to hear
Mike
his
Evans,
projected contract?
I'm going to say, what, 2 years? And let's go 50 million.
It's 3 years, 69 million, 52.5 million fully guaranteed, and an average of $23 million a year. You're giving him AJ Brown money.
Mm,
What a segue was that, right?
AJ Brown, huh?
So the reason why this has been going a little battle in our group chat the past couple of days. I forget who was it. Was it BetUS?
Um, it was bookies.com. I've never heard of it. It was a random tweet. It was very random because it was right before our playoff game.
So right before the playoff game, there is a tweet that goes viral here in Houston where AJ Brown, the odds of him landing on another team, and the favorite to land him was the Houston Texans. Now, I have to pull up AJ Brown's stat this year, but this dude was one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in the NFL. I mean, 1,400 yards, 106 receptions, 7 touchdowns. There's no question the talent that AJ Brown has. He is one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in the NFL. However, I've seen this dude cry on the sideline when his team was winning about not getting the football. It has not only been with the Philadelphia Eagles, it has also been with the Tennessee Titans. AJ Brown is a locker room cancer. And do I want to bring that to this young Houston Texans culture that is building? Absolutely not. Hardly as much as fans will say, go ahead and bring them in. D'Amico Ryans could handle that. If you have a conversation with AJ Brown before and have an understanding, then it's all system go. Who's not going to talk about themselves in the highest way possible? And what's going to happen, Harley? If AJ Brown is yelling at CJ Stroud in Houston because he did not get the ball thrown to him, how quick will the city of Houston turn on AJ Brown? You also have to add in, you have to trade for this guy, and you are giving him top wide receiver money, which he absolutely deserves. It's not a question about talent. It's the fact that this dude is a locker room cancer, and I do not want that around CJ Stroud.
When we talk about talent on the field, AJ Brown's a top 10, top 5 wide receiver in the game right now. Adding him to the wide receiver group gives you the best wide receiver group in the NFL. It also solves the problem of you don't you don't have that easy button wide receiver. AJ Brown makes that happen for CJ Stroud. AJ Brown also big target. Him and Nico, they would absolutely eat. He's one of the best receivers in the game right now. Why not?
Dude, you don't want him complaining on the sideline when Nico or Tank catches a touchdown and the ball did not go to him.
So are we saying that every single time he has complaint because someone else, like let's say, what's his name? This is Donovan Smith. I forgot the Alabama wide
Devontae
receiver's
Smith.
name. Devontae Smith. There we
Mhm.
go. Donovan Smith's a old guy for this former Houston Texan legend, by the way. Anyway, Devontae Smith. You know, I mean, I don't necessarily. My one thing that drives me away from it is the draft value. You know,
Yeah,
you're going to have to give up a second round pick for it. So really, I'm going to decline it. You know, I'm not going to bring him in just because I have to give up a second round pick, maybe a second and a fourth. But the modern day TO, I mean, I would take that every day. I would. I would absolutely take it every single day because I did ask Texan Titans fans in the group chat. I take it, man. I take AJ Brown to be my TO every single
that's
day.
a
Come on now.
pause.
Come on now. I've asked Titans fans about his time during, Tennessee. Was he a locker room cancer? Did he complain when he didn't get the ball? All that good stuff. They said no. They said he complained when they were losing. That he complained, but during their winning years, which basically was when he got there, there was no complaints from him, and there wasn't as much as a problem as he was what it looks to be in Philadelphia. Is what it looks to be to me, because and we hear him talk after the game, and I don't know, that conversation with him in the interview afterwards kind of feels like there's somebody out for him. And we know that Philadelphia media can over exaggerate things. We know Philadelphia media, we know how it is. And I'm sorry, but a top 5 wide receiver in AJ Brown to come here in H Town, oh, well, what if he yells at CJ Stroud? I mean, okay. At the end of the day, it's competition, right? I mean, how many times have how many times have we've all yelled at each other? We've all had competition. And obviously it's not at the highest level, but I've seen multiple people, like one that I am looking at right in front of me, has yelled at people and people that have thrown the ball and not thrown the ball his way. So if anybody does not want a diva, I could not believe it isn't you, because
Exactly,
at
dude. I know what type of
somebody,
player I am, so why would I want myself on a championship roster, man? I would hate
I
to,
would love that dog mentality on my team.
look, bro. It's different when you're getting paid M's, man, and
Sure.
it's just the pattern is there of him willing to talk about the organization, visibly show that he's upset on the sideline. And we've seen wide receivers like that just not successful. Most recently with Des Bryant, right? We've seen OBJ cry on the sideline, hasn't done, jack anything in his career. Not that obviously you need more than just a wide receiver to get to
Mm-hmm.
the big game in the suit, the bowl, but the only way I am legit willing to take on AJ Brown is if D'Amico Ryan just comes out and says, I'm gonna be this dude's like just watcher. And I 100% believe in AJ Brown, because I don't think this is a team, bro, that that right now needs a cancer in the locker room. It doesn't need someone negative when you're trying to build something. Now, here's the thing. If this was year 3 or 4 of CJ Stroud and he's established himself as a legit quarterback in the NFL when he has seasons under his belt, then I certainly believe that he himself could handle an AJ Brown. But we're talking about a year 2 CJ, still very young, still developing. And I do not want to see him under the pressure of having to throw the ball to someone because he's upset that he's not getting the attention. But if D'Amico Ryans comes out and says, this is our wide receiver one, this is our guy, that, hey, it's all systems go. I have no problem swinging with the fences. I mean, do not forget, me and you wanted Antonio Brown, with Deshaun Watson.
That was years ago.
And that
Yeah.
was years ago. So always willing to take the chance, but I see something special being built with the Houston Texans. And maybe if we were like more seasoned, man, I would 100% say, go ahead and do it, man. We have established captains here, but we don't have established captains here. The captains are rookies. The captains are guys in year 2, year 3. So I I'll I'll love it if we do it. You balls to the walls, aggressive. What Nick Casario has been pretty much this entire year.
Yeah.
You get a wide receiver like AJ Brown, man. You should be competing for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I 100% agree. If they did trade for him, obviously your point would make sense. If they trade for him, that means that behind closed doors, they've had conversations with him and they know, okay, we're going to take this chance with AJ Brown and we're going to go, hey, you know what? We know what we're getting here. We're going to trade a second round pick and let's say a fifth, second and a
Mhm.
fifth for AJ Brown. We're going to do it and we're bringing in a top 5 wide receiver because, damn it, we want to make some noise. We want to be the top dogs in the AFC. That it's ballsy. Yeah, I understand the sentiment. I do. Um, at the end of the day, I'm willing to take that chance.
Mm.
The Houston Texans, we've continuously complained as fans that they don't take enough chances. This is one of the biggest chances you could take in an AJ Brown. Sure. Is it not safe? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, those other wide receivers that you named, their quarterbacks were not CJ Stroud. And AJ Brown did go to a Super Bowl with all of this baggage. And none of that baggage really was there during their Super Bowl run. So, how much is it AJ Brown and Nick Sirianni, who is a head coach that carries himself in a completely different manner than the other 31 head coaches in the league? Is it just bad leadership all around in that locker room? And are we just throwing it to a guy that, oh, well, he's already got a bad eye? Well, I mean, what's punching him 3 more times going to be like?
I see it. I see it.
Don't forget, Nick Sirianni is the guy in the Super Bowl that went like this to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid on the sideline, and Jalen Hurts had to calm him down. Nick
Yeah,
Sirianni is
that's.
not like the other 31 head coaches in this league.
I agree. I agree. I just don't think the Houston Texans take a chance, man.
Oh, I don't think so either.
Um,
This is all for us just to say, I don't think it's going to happen. Again,
this
they
is for
trade a
my
second and a fifth.
This is for my boy Juan, and huge Dalton Schultz fan, and we are all big Dalton Schultz fans. I've said it many times this year. He's been our best tight end since '81. Owen Daniels, hardly a I think the money has to be right for Dalton Schultz to be back as a Houston Texans. I see here his PFF projected contract is 3 years, $33 million,
Nope.
20.63 million
Nope.
guaranteed, 11 mil average in those 3 years. Yeah, I am good on that, Dalton. I also hate the drops; those are leaving a bad taste in my mouth, but I appreciate everything you did this year for the Houston Texans, but I am good with a contract like that.
Yeah, I am too. I was gonna say, I wouldn't go no higher than 9 million a year. You
So the
know,
same thing he signed.
exactly. I wouldn't go no higher than that. I wouldn't. There wasn't a lot that he proved to me that made him a difference maker on the field. Like, to me, Dalton Schultz is a good tight end. I wish him the best in his future endeavors, as we say in firing anybody. But Dalton Schultz, buddy, it was a good run. I appreciate him because, hey, without him and that catch in Tennessee, we're not in the playoffs probably.
Mm.
So, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, Dalton Schultz, I mean, there you could find somebody at least around the same talent level as Dalton Schultz and probably cheaper.
Hmm.
or hell, you can even go into the draft and find yourself maybe a late round option. Who knows? Or maybe you could just bulk up and double dip in free agency, get into the bargain bin, and obviously Brevin Jordan is still there. We don't know how his progression is going to continue with CJ Stroud. I did like some of the stuff we saw from him, but I'm not entirely sold on bringing him back.
Someone I love to bring up is Hunter Henry. And
Yeah.
Hunter Henry just had about 150 yards less than Dawson Schultz this year for the New England Patriots with horrible quarterback play. Hunter Henry was balling out with the Chargers. He's balled out with the Patriots. His projected contract this year, 2 years, $12.25 million, 8.25 guaranteed, 6.13 million a year. I mean, that is cheap and just about the same type of production that you got from Dalton Schultz this year. Hunter Henry is also a better blocker than Dalton Schultz. However, there is the familiarity that Dalton has
Yeah.
built with CJ Stroud. He's also a willing blocker, so it's not like he's just not trying to. It's just I think Hunter Henry is better. It just has to come down with money. And if Dalton Schultz wants to be a Houston Texan, then it's going to have to be with him taking that H-Town discount, man. One last free agent, Harley, before we leave. And this is someone who really our boy Cody put us on early in the year. I think you as
Yes.
well. Justin Matabuke,
Mm.
defensive lineman from the Baltimore Ravens, 26 years old, is going to enter next season, 26. This is a player that had at least half a sack in 13 of the 17 games this season. We saw him absolutely destroy our interior offensive line on Saturday. Justin Matabuke is exactly the type of player that transforms this Houston Texans defense. And with D'Amico Ryan's sprinkle of fairy dust over Justin Matabuke, how crazy, how much growth does he have himself? Now, his contract projected, it's as high as it can be, 4 years, $92 million,
Mhm.
60.25 guaranteed, and he's going to be making $23 million a year right before he turns 30 years old. Justin Matabuke is someone you will have to throw the bag at, but if you get him here, this is a game changing player.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, we saw what he did against us in the Baltimore Ravens game. He absolutely is a force to be reckoned with along the interior. I think he's arguably the best interior pass rusher in the NFL right now. Justin Madubuike is amazing. Bringing him here, what you can do to have him inside with Will Anderson Jr. would just put so much pressure on defenses. Obviously, that would mean Jonathan Grenard, you were gone. So that would be unfortunate, but I would I would take one bad and one positive there. And to me, that positive in Madubuike is a lot greater than Jonathan Grenard because you're creating pressure in the interior and you're closing in that pocket for the opposing quarterback. And that's just going to make it a lot easier for Will Anderson and the improvements he makes as a pass rusher this offseason. It's going to make it a lot easier for him. His job will be tremendously easy with Madubuike there. The guy is dominant, man. The Texans need that dominant interior defensive lineman. He's staring right at you. Give him the blank check. Go ahead and do it. Let's bring it on.
Dude, I mean, I would go and buy his jersey. Now
Yeah,
if Matabuke does come here and you let go of Jonathan Grenard, you bring him back Clowney on a 1 year deal?
absolutely. Absolutely, without hesitance. I mean, come on. We called for him last year. I wanted Clowney. I thought him with D'Amico Ryans would work. I really do. And we saw what he did this last Saturday with the Baltimore Ravens. Jadeveon Clowney still has a lot left in the tank. Bringing him here, replace a Jonathan Grenard, could be actually kind of cheaper as well too.
One
You
year
know,
16, that's what he's projected, all fully
I
guaranteed.
I have no problem with that whatsoever. Bring him in here. You got him. You got Will Anderson. You got Amadubuike. You take two guys away from that Ravens defensive line because the Ravens, and I know somebody said, hey, the Ravens are not going to let him go. Why would they? Yeah, I would have agreed with you, but they only got about 15 million in cap space right now. That means they're going to have to restructure a lot of contracts, cut some players. They also got Patrick Queen that they want to bring back. And by the way, him and Roquan Smith, I mean, my goodness, they're the damn police in the middle of the field. They do not let anything get past them. My goodness, how good is Roquan Smith and how good was Patrick Queen this Saturday? They were putting on a clinic. Do not want Patrick Queen though here in Houston because you do have a guy here named Blake Cashman as well as Christian Harris. You need that one guy in the middle. But back to Matty Buike and Clowney, yeah, absolutely would.
So what about Chase Young on a 1 year 15 mil deal? Because that's what he's let me see right here. Let me just double check. Um is there something there with Chase Young, man? And yeah, it says right here, like 1 year, about 15 mil fully guaranteed.
I don't know, man. It's just the only thing I like Chase Young. I like the youth that he still has. I like the potential he still has. My biggest issue with him is the injuries. He hasn't really popped off the screen either for the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know what his stats have been since he's joined them, but it it would have felt like his presence would be known more considering the rest of the talent around him. Like we saw what he did his rookie year, and it makes me wonder: is he still the same player after these injuries?
Mm,
Just because we haven't heard his name since. Obviously, he's been injured, and I would think with the Niners, you got Nick Bosa over there, you got Fred Warner and linebacker, you got a dominant front seven. I would think he would be making some havoc over there with the Niners, and he just seems like he hasn't.
mm,
So whether or not it's a scheme fit for him or it's just maybe he's just not as good anymore because of the injuries, I don't know. I think Chase Young is more of a name piece now than he is talent wise.
mm. And just to fix my mistake, Clowney is projected at 1 year, $9 million, all of it guaranteed. I think this is something you definitely take a chance at if you
Yes,
lose John Grenard in free agency. He's also someone that wanted to come to Houston.
yes, he did.
So,
And Mark Berman had him rumored to come here to Houston. Mark Berman doesn't miss a lot of things. Mark Berman's usually right on a lot of these things. So yeah, you're right. Clowney didn't want to come here. Hey,
hey,
one
back
year,
in that
10 million. Come on.
90,
1 year, 10 million. Come on back.
finish the story, baby.
Do the Cody Rhodes on me. Finish the story.
Hey, keeping Jonathan Grenard is going to be tough because he
Yeah,
might ask for top edge money. I mean, which he absolutely deserves.
he does.
Dominant in the run game, dominant as getting to the quarterback. Him being out the past, the a couple of games towards the end of the season, maybe that does affect it a little bit. But Jonathan Grenard is someone who's definitely earned him a lot of money. Do not know if the Houston Texans would match if someone tries to overpay for Grenard.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think they're bringing him back. I really don't. I
But
feel
what does
really
that
bad.
say about having homegrown talent leave like this?
Um, to me, it just feels a little different with Bernard, just because he's only really had just this year in that 1 year with Lovey Smith. Besides that, he's been really hurt. Um, you would be scared to take that chance and give him let's say a 4 year deal worth $85 million or whatever, and he gets hurt. That's not what you want. You don't want to take that chance. And obviously, anybody could get hurt. We all know this. That's football. But it just feels a little bit different when people bring up the homegrown talent conversation. It feels a little bit different with Jonathan Grenard. You know why? Because Bill O'Brien didn't even want him. Damn it. Who sent that pick in?
I just feel like, you know, if you're gonna let someone go, then I don't want to hear no one complaining about no one getting to the quarterback and no one
True.
being able to
True.
stop the run because you had a guy who you drafted who at Florida also led the SEC in tackles for loss and
Yes.
sacks as well. Jonathan Grenard, man, I think is someone that the Houston Texans should definitely try to bring back. However, I mean, this is a business, man. We already saw George Fant say goodbye to Houston.
Yep.
He is someone that is going to be getting himself some money, and we really don't know what Jonathan Grenard wants in terms of money. Is he someone who takes a deal? Not too sure. But, ladies and gentlemen, as we end tonight's podcast, and it was a fire episode itself, the content is going to continue, and we are going to be dropping how we think we can better the Houston Texans via free agency, via the draft. The Houston Texans will have enough ammo to make this a championship roster in the offseason. Harley, let them know where they can find your latest work.
You can find me at the lead underscore Houston, the lead Houston on all my social medias, YouTube channel. We're on the road to 8,000 subscribers. Again, appreciate every single one of y'all that has liked, commented, subscribed. If you missed the podcast, you can always find the live stream either on my YouTube channel or Ruben's YouTube channel. Or if you want to listen to it audibly, you can check out the Believe in Texans podcast, a part of the Believe Network. We're anywhere we stream all your podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify. So, we're all on the everywhere as much as we can. We try to drop as much content as we can. And I can't wait, man. It should be a fun off season. It's going to be a roller coaster ride. There's going to be some guys that we don't want gone. That's probably going to be gone. And there's going to be some guys that we're going to be stupid excited about bringing in. And then there's always that one guy where you're going, who the hell is this?
Okay, who is that guy for us this year?
Man. Who
was it
that
Perriman?
guy? Man, kind of. Not too much. I feel like there was another linebacker we had. Don't remember.
Jake Hansen.
Nah, he was always on the team. I don't know. Maybe it was Khalil Davis. Did end up being great for you because you're kind of like, I guess we'll give him a chance. Houston Carson's not a bad one, actually. And that's not a bad one. Someone said Houston Carson, and I was like, yeah, because I remember when they picked him up off the practice squad and Jimmy Ward had got hurt and Petrie got hurt in the beginning of the season. They picked up Houston Carson. I was like, who the hell is this? And I went, thank you. Thank you very much. And Khalil Davis was a beast. Absolute monster.
Dude, we got to make a splash.
We got to do something. Texans,
we got to do something exciting, dude.
They got the fans behind it, man. They're ready to see something. They want to see some splashing. They want to see some water.
Can you imagine first day, Matabuke, boom.
I don't know about that one, but I don't know about
Grenard resigns for the low.
I wished. You imagine he only gets $15 million a year? Oh, that'd be nice. That's not happening. And it sounds like that's not going to happen because the way he talked, like he knows it's a business and he knows that he wants to get paid money. I don't blame them, man. Make that bread. Imagine JJ.
With that being said, we are going to end the live stream, guys. Shout out to everyone who was a part of it. Y'all make sure you have a real blessed rest of your night.